Welcome to the 2018 NBA full first round mock draft. Now, this mock draft will not feature any trades like last year's Jimmy Butler to the Timberwolves trade, just because that would be way too hard to predict and it could change multiple draft selections and draft order. With the first pick in the NBA draft, the Phoenix Suns select DeAndre Ayton, 20-year-old freshman, 7 foot, 243-pound center out of Arizona. Ayton is viewed as basically the consensus top draft pick for this draft. Ayton dominated in college offensively. His ability to score both inside the paint and in the post and shoot the ball from outside is very useful for any NBA team. He is also an elite rebounder. He has good defensive potential as well. He isn't fully there yet on the defensive end, but has all the athleticism and length to be a great defender. Ayton is a huge need for the Suns, who have been in desperate need for a good big man since Amar'e Stoudemire. Ayton will go alongside bright star Devin Booker. The Suns have a couple good other young players like Josh Jackson and TJ Warren. Post-draft, they will have a good young starting lineup of Elfrid Payton at point guard if they decide to keep him, Devin Booker at shooting guard, Josh Jackson and TJ Warren at the forwards, and Ayton at center. Next year should be the beginning of the next phase for the Suns, where they try to get out of the rebuilding phase and look to start competing for a playoff spot again. With the second pick in the NBA draft, the Sacramento Kings select Luka Doncic, the 19-year-old 6'8", 228-pound guard from Slovenia. Doncic is a super intriguing prospect who arguably has the most potential in the draft. He will play either the point or shooting guard in the NBA. He has great vision and has been compared to a less athletic Ben Simmons except with a jump shot. Luka was a leader and a star in the EuroLeague and is the most proven winner in the draft class. There is a risk with Doncic since he has only played in the European leagues before. The NBA has a lot more athleticism than the EuroLeague, which is more centered around ball movement and shooting, so there is concern that Doncic will not be athletic enough or fit into the style of NBA, especially with his defense. As for the Kings, they have been bad for so long that they are just looking for the best prospect available. While the Kings already have a group of young guards in De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, and Bogdan Bogdanovic, none of them have proven that they can be key players on a playoff or championship team. So while the Kings have more of a need at the big man positions, they are in a situation where they must draft the best prospect overall, not the prospect that fits the best with their current team. With the third pick in the NBA draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Marvin Bagley, the 19-year-old freshman who's 6'11", 235-pound power forward out of Duke. Bagley was a superstar at Duke, leading them to the Elite Eight and putting up some of the best stats in the country. Bagley is good enough that if the Kings selected him, I would be okay with that because he isn't that far off from Doncic talent-wise. He is a super athletic big, and he can also score from outside and rebound at a high rate. There are a couple of knocks on his game. One is that he relied too much on athleticism in college in order to score, and he won't be able to exploit less athletic people in the NBA. But the real big knock on his game is his defense. He has showed little promise on that end and was below average in college. On the bright side, he does have the tools to become better. But I wouldn't be too worried for Bagley since his scouting report is very similar to Karl-Anthony Towns, an athletic, scoring big man that isn't really that good at defense. The Hawks get a great young player to add to their rebuilding squad. Bagley could potentially play center or power forward, but I personally like him more at power forward. The Hawks can put him alongside John Collins. Even though they are both more suited as power forwards, they are both skilled enough to play both positions. Depending on if the Dennis Schroeder trade rumors are still relevant, they could have a good young squad. With the fourth pick in the NBA draft, the Memphis Grizzlies select Michael Porter Jr., 19-year-old freshman, 6'11", 211-pound small forward out of Missouri. Porter Jr. was one of the best high school players a year ago alongside Marvin Bagley and was projected to be the number one pick before the college season. But due to an injury, Porter was only able to play 3 games in limited minutes in college. So there is more of an unknown factor with Porter Jr. But it's been reported that he has impressed and gotten back to 100% with his pre-draft workouts, but I do have to admit there have been conflicting reports on that. Porter is the most realistic comparison to Kevin Durant since the man himself was drafted. He is a tall, lengthy small forward who can score all over the court and is athletic. If he never got injured, he could be the number one pick this year. As for his fit with the Grizzlies, I feel like he is perfect for them. A lot of other mock drafts have him closer to the 7th or 8th pick in the draft, but a superstar scorer is exactly what the Grizzlies need. They already have a great center and point guard in Marc Gasol and Mike Conley. Plus, the Grizzlies are a small market team in Memphis, so they have no timetable for a rebuild, and they want to be as competitive as soon as possible since they can't really attract free agents to come down to Memphis like a team in Los Angeles could. With the 5th pick in the NBA draft, the Dallas Mavericks select Jaren Jackson Jr., an 18-year-old freshman, 6'11", 236-pound power forward out of Michigan State. I must admit that I am lower on Jackson than most others are, but let's look at his potential first. Jackson is very athletic with a long wingspan. He is also a consistent three-point shooter at almost 40%, which is really good for a guy who's as big as him. He is also considered by most to be the best defender in the draft, as he averaged 3 blocks a game in college in limited minutes. But the limited minutes part is where I have my doubts about him. Triple J only played less than 22 minutes a game in college as he struggled with foul trouble a lot, with about 3 fouls a game. A top prospect should be able to help his team a lot more and stay on the court. But I must admit that he does have a lot of potential, and the things he needs to work on are teachable, unlike the great athleticism that he possesses. The Mavericks need a big man at either power forward or center, since this will be Dirk's last year, and Jackson has the ability to play both positions. Speaking of Dirk, he is one of the best power forwards of all time and would be an amazing mentor for him. Jackson will need a little more time to develop and probably will not be great right off the bat, but he has a wide range of tools, and if he can figure out how to use them, then he could be a great player. With the 6th pick in the NBA draft, the Orlando Magic select Trae Young, 19-year-old freshman, 6'2", 180-pound point guard out of Oklahoma. Trae Young was an absolute superstar in college. He came into college as the 23rd best freshman and now finds himself as one of the best players of the draft. Young is easily the best pull-up shooter in the draft, as he led the nation in both scoring and assists. Trae's offensive skills are definitely there, but he lacks really anything else. He was a bad defender in college, which will be exploited even more in the NBA, and his tiny frame and little athleticism does not help him. Trae Young is a huge risk. While he could possibly have Steph Curry potential, he has a high chance of being a bust. That's what makes him a perfect selection for the Magic. Number 1, the Magic have the worst point guard situation in the NBA. Number 2, the Magic have been so bad since Dwight Howard left that they need to take a swing on a high potential player. And number 3, even if Trae Young does become a bust, he is still a player that has a huge media following everywhere he goes and could get some fans into the seats. With the 7th pick in the NBA draft, the Chicago Bulls select Mo Bamba, 20-year-old freshman, 7'1", 225-pound center out of Texas. Mo Bamba is so much fun to watch. I think he will be a star in the league, and personally, I would have taken him at number 5 with the Mavericks. He is a huge player with the longest reach ever at the NBA Combine at 7'10". He is super athletic and has great defense. He is offensively challenged right now, but he has signs of good work ethic and promise of improvement. And that's sort of why I had the Mavericks taking Jaren Jackson Jr., because he has a lot more offensive potential than Mo Bamba does. He is very skinny, especially for his height, which could get him bullied in the NBA. But weight is something you can control, so I wouldn't be too worried, because he can hit the gym. I can picture him blocking shots and catching lots of lobs, similar to Clint Capella for the Rockets. He's also a great fit for the Bulls. They have an outside scorer at power forward in Lauri Markkanen, and Bamba can be the inside scorer who is also the rim protector on defense. All the Bulls need is small forward, with Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, Lauri, and now Bamba at all the other starting spots. With the 8th pick in the NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Collin Sexton, 19-year-old freshman, 6'1", 190-pound point guard out of Alabama. Sexton was a wild Russell Westbrook-type player in college that carried his team to the second round of the NCAA tournament. I'm not saying Sexton will be Russell Westbrook at all, but he does play like him. Athletic point guard that runs around the court like his head is on fire. His shot is a little iffy, but it isn't bad, and he does have to work on his turnovers. He's a little undersized though, but I don't see that deterring him since he seems to have a high motor. When watching the NBA Finals, I knew LeBron was going to leave. it just doesn't seem like LeBron's going to stay in Cleveland anymore. So Sexton may not be the best or safest player still available to draft for the Cavs, but he has the highest upside. The Cavs will also need a new face of the franchise, and Colin Sexton can be that guy. With the 9th pick in the NBA draft, New York Knicks select Mikal Bridges, 21-year-old junior, 6'7", 209-pound small forward out of Villanova. Mikal Bridges is the perfect complementary player for today's NBA, a guy that guards positions 2 through 4 effectively and can shoot the 3 ball. Every team in the league needs a guy like this. I think he actually fits very well with the Knicks. If they can keep Enes Kanter at center, which it seems like they will have a lineup of either Frank Ntilikina or Mudiay at the point guard, Tim Hardaway Jr., Bridges, Porzingis, and Kanter. Bridges is a more defensive-minded version of Hardaway Jr., and I think he would fit perfectly with the Knicks. With the 10th pick in the NBA draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Miles Bridges, 20-year-old sophomore, 6'7", 225-pound small forward out of Michigan State. Now, he is not related to Mikal. Miles Bridges was the star leader at Michigan State. He has the body of a power forward, but the height of a shooting guard, which makes his positioning a little skeptical, and he could bounce around positions. But I think he can be a great role player on a championship team. I see him as a bigger Marcus Smart type player. Although this wasn't the Bridges that the Sixers were hoping for, since Mikal is already a Philly guy and he would fit really good with them, they do get a guy that's almost just as good and fills an area of need at the backup small forward position. With the 11th pick in the NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Wendell Carter Jr., 19-year-old freshman, 6'10", 259-pound center out of Duke. Wendell could go higher in the draft and probably will. I just think that other players earlier in the draft were better fits for their team. Carter is a great underrated prospect. He is a high post, low post guy who can pass. I like the Al Horford comparison, but I don't think he will be as good as him, but still a very solid NBA player. Whether the Hornets keep Kemba Walker or not, Carter Jr. will be a good replacement for Dwight Howard once his contract expires next year. He will be their center of the future, and the Hornets can get a steal right here. With the 12th pick in the NBA draft, the Los Angeles Clippers select Robert Williams, 20-year-old sophomore, 6'9", 239-pound power forward / center from Texas A&M. Robert Williams is a pretty typical big man. He can rebound good, score inside, and racks up blocks. He averaged 11 points, 9 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks in 2 college seasons. The Clippers need a backup for DeAndre Jordan if DeAndre Jordan decides to stay with them, and if he does go, then Williams could be the big man of the future for them. With the 13th pick in the NBA draft, the Los Angeles Clippers select Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the 19-year-old freshman, 6'6", 180-pound guard from Kentucky. Alexander was a surprise for Kentucky. He started the year on the bench, but by the end, he proved to be one of, if not the best player on Kentucky. He is a combo guard who can pass pretty well and has a nice jumper. He also has good defense. The Clippers do not have any youth at the guard spots currently, and they desperately need some, with their guards being Lou Williams, Austin Rivers, Milos Teodosic, and Patrick Beverley. Alexander could be a guard of the future for the Clippers. With the 14th pick in the NBA draft, the Denver Nuggets select Lonnie Walker, 19-year-old freshman, 6'5", 204-pound guard from Miami. Walker is a long, very athletic guard with not too bad of a shot. He has great defensive potential and great potential in general. Nuggets need some depth at the guard position, especially if they are unable to keep Will Barton this offseason. With the 15th pick in the NBA draft, the Washington Wizards select Kevin Knox, 18-year-old freshman, 6'9", 215-pound forward out of Kentucky. Knox is an offensive-minded player who can play small forward or even potentially be a stretch 4. He is a great scorer and shooter. The Wizards need some bench scoring outside Kelly Oubre, and he could even transition into their starting power forward in the future. With the 16th pick in the NBA draft, the Phoenix Suns select Zaire Smith, 19-year-old freshman, 6'4", 199-pound guard out of Texas Tech. Smith is probably the most athletic player in the draft. He's going to be a great defender and is really fun to watch. He is raw offensively, but has a lot of potential, and although he didn't shoot the three often, he made a very high percentage of them, 45% on one attempt per game. The Suns need some defense and guard depth, and Smith provides both. With the 17th pick in the NBA draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Troy Brown, 18-year-old freshman, 6'7", 215-pound shooting guard out of Oregon. Troy Brown is a 3-and-D player with great athleticism. This seems like a theme. The Bucks desperately need shooting. Although Brown had a statistically rough three-point percentage in college, that was due to his role in the offense being very large at Oregon, which is something he won't be asked to do in the NBA. With the 18th pick in the NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Kyrie Thomas, 22-year-old junior, 6'3", 210-pound guard out of Creighton. Thomas is a great defender who can shoot the three and create his own shot. He seems undersized at 6'3", but he has a huge wingspan of 6'11", so he can rack up steals. Thomas fits the Spurs organization very well and can go nice alongside DeJounte Murray. With the 19th pick in the NBA draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Donte DiVincenzo, a 21-year-old junior, 6'5", 205-pound shooting guard out of Villanova. DiVincenzo was on fire in the tournament, being named the tournament's most outstanding player and scoring 31 points in the national title game. The Hawks need to go for players with potential, and if the tournament wasn't a fluke, they could end up with a great draft steal with an athletic scorer with good defense. With the 20th pick in the NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Keita Bates-Diop, 22-year-old senior, 6'7", 236-pound small forward out of Ohio State. Bates-Diop has a big frame for someone his size, but it is very deceiving as he had a scoring wing-type game at Ohio State. He brings length and depth to a Wolves team that could use some. He also has an alright three-point shot, which is something the Timberwolves struggle with. With the 21st pick in the NBA draft, the Utah Jazz select DeAnthony Melton, 20-year-old sophomore, 6'4", 190-pound guard from USC. Melton has a risk with him being forced to sit out last year at USC due to an NCAA scandal, but he has potential to be a nice defensive-minded guard. He can score a little, but needs to prove it further. Would be a nice backup to Donovan Mitchell on the Jazz. With the 22nd pick in the NBA draft, the Chicago Bulls select Chandler Hutchinson, 22-year-old senior, 6'7", 196-pound small forward from Boise State. Hutchinson could be a big steal. He grew into a great scorer from Boise State, averaging 20 points per game by his senior season. The Bulls just so happen to need a small forward, as I said earlier in the draft, who can create his own shot and score. If the Bulls draft Bamba and Hutchinson, they could be one of the winners of this draft. The 23rd pick in the NBA draft, the Indiana Pacers select Melvin Frazier, 21-year-old junior, 6'6", 200-pound small forward from Tulane. He's a nice 3-and-D wing, and he would fit really nice with the Pacers, who could use another small forward, especially if they don't keep Glenn Robinson III. He would fit great in their system because they love defense. 24th pick in the NBA draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select Josh Okogie, 19-year-old sophomore, 6'4", 213-pound shooting guard out of Georgia Tech. I really like Okogie. He is very fun to watch and was on the tops of the list in a lot of other things at the Combine. Super athletic and has great defense. Of course, he can also shoot the three ball. Okogie could be a steal as well. The 25th pick in the NBA draft, Los Angeles Lakers select Elie Okobo, 20-year-old 6'2", 180-pound guard from France. Okobo is a little bit of an unknown since he is from France, but he's a guard who can shoot very well and can also pass pretty good too. Could be a nice backup for Lonzo Ball and give them some bench scoring because he can create his own shot. 26th pick in the NBA draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Omari Spellman, 20-year-old freshman, 6'9", 245-pound power forward / center from Villanova. Out of all the Villanova guys to be rumored to be going to the Sixers, they will get the least known one. Spellman is a big man who is also a sniper from three-point. He also has pretty solid defense. The Sixers could use him since they most likely won't be keeping Amir Johnson, and when Johnson was on for Embiid, it hurt the offense since Johnson couldn't score, and Spellman could fill that backup center role. With the 27th pick in the NBA draft, the Boston Celtics select Mitchell Robinson, 20-year-old 7-foot, 223-pound center from high school. Robinson is a very risky pick. After being one of the best high school players last year, he committed to Western Kentucky, and then uncommitted, and then ended up not playing college ball at all. Obviously, that's a big red flag since he hasn't played organized basketball in a year, but he has a lot of potential to be a great big man. The Celtics and Brad Stevens seem like a team that can take a chance on him and get the best out of him since they have a really good record of developing young talent. They could also potentially groom him to be Al Horford's future replacement. With the 28th pick in the NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors select Kevin Huerter, 19-year-old sophomore, 6'7", 190-pound small forward out of Maryland. Huerter is probably the best spot-up shooter in the draft, and if the Warriors get him, they will get yet another great three-point shooter to add to their never-ending three-point shooters. Could eventually be Nick Young's replacement at the backup small forward position. With the 29th pick in the NBA draft, the Brooklyn Nets select Zandan Musa. I'm sorry if I butchered that. 19-year-old 6'9", 195 pounds shooting guard / small forward out of Bosnia. The Nets are a team desperate for talent, so they must go with a player with high upside, especially this late in the draft. Musa was a very good scorer in Europe and could be a great steal for them. He does lack athleticism, which will probably hurt him on the defensive end in the NBA. With the 30th pick and the final pick in the first round, the Atlanta Hawks select Anthony Simons, 19-year-old 6'4", 183-pound point guard from high school. For the last pick of the round, the Hawks take Anthony Simons. With Schroeder's future with the team in question, they can draft a point guard with a lot of potential. Coming straight out of high school, Anthony is an athletic scorer, but taking someone with no college experience is always risky. Some notable players that I didn't mention that I don't have drafted in the first round include Jalen Brunson from Villanova, Grayson Allen from Duke, Aaron Holiday from UCLA, Gary Trent Jr. from Duke, Brandon McCoy from UNLV, Mo Wagner from Michigan, and Bruce Brown from Miami.